Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Lieutenant Marcus Boyd of the United States Coast Guard. What you're about to see is a really cool conversation about the new 12-week OCS program with my friend, OCS classmate, and current instructor at OCS, Lieutenant Kindal Lawson. You need to watch this if you're preparing to attend OCS or even if you're just thinking about applying. All right, let's get into it.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll do like a little official thing. So, like, welcome with my girl here, Lieutenant Kindal Lawson. I think one of the dopest people in our OCS class.
Oh
I
my gosh, thank
yeah.
you. I don't think so,
Well,
but
I remember talking like you were like a package deal. I remember talking to you and Morgan like a lot. Like,
yes.
I would come mess with y'all. Y'all would come in there. So I always had fun. And I remember you ended up going to the Connie, right?
Yes, I did.
So that was cool. So we share that connection. So now you're back. So anyway, I appreciate you like taking your time being here and talking some OCS because
Yeah,
you
of
probably
course.
you probably didn't know this, but since I did that teaser this morning, like 30 people from your upcoming class like started following me.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's crazy.
yeah, so like I'm not per se a field recruiter anymore, but I do it every now and then for folks if they
Right.
reach out. And
Hmm.
so there's one young lady in this class that I was her recruiter. So she saw
Oh,
it, the
really?
stories, and she put it in their thread. So a lot of them like can't wait to see
Oh
uh
my gosh.
the
Okay.
stuff you say. Which will be fun because they'll see you all smiling and stuff, and then you'll be lighting them up next week.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Suckers, suckers, suckers. All right, so I'm gonna sneak in, and so I got a bunch of people left questions too from that, and so
Okay.
I'll sneak them in and bob and weave them in here. But I think the first thing that I want to know is like the difference in the new format. I know you guys did a 12-week, and you did that 17-week grind with me.
Right.
Well, kinda
Kinda.
ish. We were the COVID class, but
Yes.
I guess what are some of the biggest differences from that 17-week format to the new 12-week format?
I would say the two biggest differences is we're not doing Eagle anymore,
Mm,
which even students in the last class, which was my first class here, they were upset that we don't do that anymore, and we're kind of questioning why. So we don't go on Eagle anymore. Students can still go and visit the cutter if they're in port, like on their Liberty time, but we don't do that anymore. We still do rotor and everything. So rules of the road, the students are still going to go through that for a week and take the test, but you don't get to see that kind of practical side of it. And then the other biggest change, which I think they talked about during our class that they were moving towards this, was we have the last like week and a half, we'll do what's called Strand.
okay.
So basically, it's like community specific classes. So you already have your billet, and we'll split everybody into the communities that they're going into. So for a float, we try to get them in the simulator, show them, what life will be like underway, just kind of give a little bit of a glimpse into it. So they have something to kind of reference on their first day. Because I know we didn't have anything like
Mm-mm.
that. I know we obviously could talk to the instructors, at any point and ask, questions about what life would be like. But I think this is really good because we get to branch off. We sometimes get, outside instructors to come in um, to kind of help give a little bit different perspective than what the staff has. So I think those are probably the two biggest changes, which I think are both positive changes.
Yeah.
And of course, cutting out Eagle does cut down 2 weeks of the program. So, but it's still mixed emotions about that from people when I talk to them. So,
Yeah, if you see me grinning, it's because that was one of my questions. I had two people ask me, "Is Eagle still part of the program?"
yeah,
Uh,
no.
which I guess I don't know. We had a interesting time, right? Like being that COVID broke out while we were on the Eagle, and it
Hmm.
canceled our port call, and like everybody got really tense. I think maybe I have like a negative bias on my time with the Eagle, so
Yeah.
it's hard for me to comprehend why somebody would be upset, especially if it's shortening the program. But it seems pretty common. Like a lot of people hear about that tradition and they're bummed they don't get to be part of it.
Right. And I think people are upset because they might have never seen Eagle or been on it.
Yeah,
I think it's an opportunity that they feel like they're kind of missing out on because they don't get to go on it.
yeah.
Um, but it's mixed emotions across the fleet from what I've heard as well. So not sure. But yeah, we're not going to bring it back if people ask that. So no longer in the program.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. And I'm sure at the end of the day, they'll be appreciative. Once they're in that program on week 1, week 2, they'll be thinking like, nah, week 12, I think that's enough. So
Right.
you visit the Eagle on your own time.
Exactly.
Well, I guess so, man. It seems so crazy. I guess we've been out for like 5 years. And so what made you decide to take this job as an instructor?
So I wanted to establish my secondary track in the training and education field. And so my primary is afloat. And so
Okay.
I wanted something that kind of aligned with that well. And I was looking at the different jobs and I saw that this was available. And I had talked to our previous OCS school chief about it. And I know I talked to some biased people who were previous OCS
Yeah.
instructors, but I thought that it would be an interesting job to take. And I felt that it would keep me competitive for jobs that I want after.
Yeah.
It just from our time there, we saw instructors get, CO of station rides out of there. So I felt that it kept me competitive. And I just feel like this is a different side of the Coast Guard that I kind of wanted to see. So that's kind of what led me to put in for it. And luckily I got it.
Okay. No, so I'll ask you this next question. You kind of just answered it, but I just want to hear your thoughts on it. So I had a young man, another person that I helped get into one of the direct commission programs, but he's very interested in becoming an instructor. And he asked your thoughts on what do you think when you hear somebody say, is this job a career killer?
That it makes me upset that people think that because I've seen plenty of officers come out of here with really good picks. And so I've always seen this as like a way to keep me competitive, like I said.
Yeah,
And so I don't think it's a career killer. I think that it still keeps you, involved. Like
yeah,
you have a role of developing and like mentoring the next, I guess, generation of officers. So I feel like it's still a very good job to have. So I don't think anybody should view it negatively. And I know it's not technically a special assignment. There's no screening process as of now, but I still see it as very competitive.
Okay, okay. And so for you, what's it just been like, being going through the program and now being back as an instructor? Is it weird? Do you like it more than you thought you did? How are you enjoying it so far?
It's definitely weird, kind of seeing behind the curtain, I guess, so to say, but I really do enjoy it. It's really cool to see. I mean, I only have one class under my belt, but it was really cool to see the transition of students coming in and then slowly being able to work together and like just seeing people grow and being more confident in themselves and their leadership abilities. So that I think that's been the best part of it, and just being a part of that person's, um, I guess, process and developing,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So I
Oh,
don't
for
know.
sure.
I really like to see that. And of course, Billet Night's always very exciting because hopefully most of the students get, what they want. So they always have really exciting reactions. So that's really nice to
Yeah.
see. But I guess I would say that just seeing the development of students from day one versus when they graduate.
Got you. And so do you guys still, I know you said you only had the one class for Bill and Night. If someone doesn't get what they want, and we know that doesn't happen all the
Mhm.
time, y'all let them know ahead of time.
It's kind of a case by case decision from the school chief.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on, maybe how far down that pick was on their list, but we don't share that with many people, especially if they have maybe something specific based off like family needs.
Yeah.
We'll let them know ahead of time because obviously we don't want anyone to have a bad reaction. But I mean, everyone can't get their top pick, and I know the detailers work really hard to get people what they want. And of course, there's other things in play, like people that are co-load or have special needs that are going to be prioritized. So we try to do our best with letting people know, but it's not a guarantee.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So we had a lot of folks that were curious about like civilian candidates going in. When you're in, you have a pipeline of mentors and people that will probably encourage you to apply. What advice do you have for those people that are civilians coming in brand new that they can better prepare for OCS?
I would say There's a couple things that you can do. I would say that this kind of goes for everybody, but just preparing physically, because I feel
Yeah.
like that's one of the things you can control, and that's kind of one less thing you have to worry about if you know that you obviously meet the standard for the PT test. But another thing I would say is, like you said, maybe finding that mentor or trying to reach out to the officers that were on your interview panel.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily do this, but I know people that have, and they still keep in contact with them. Talking with your recruiter to see, what insight they have of how you can prepare. Like your Instagram page,
Let's go. Let's
gives a
go.
lot of tips, and I think that that's helpful. Another thing that I did do was our class created a Facebook page. It's not something that's like created by OCS, but I think the students like create kind of a chat in Facebook, so they can talk to each other, share tips and everything. So maybe try to find that so you can connect with people before you show up.
Yeah.
I know that kind of helped ease my anxiety a little bit.
Yeah.
But that kind of goes for everybody, not necessarily just new accessions coming in.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it. Like, it's tough to really get prepared for OCS.
Yeah.
I am a big advocate of like control what I can control. So I feel like I
Mhm.
showed up in the best shape of my life. But you can give somebody the daily play script, and when they get there, it all goes out the window when Lieutenant
Right.
Lawson gets in their face, right? And so I do think it does help to have those mentors, because the more, perspective you've gained along the way, I just think that helps you. And those nights that you're crying in your room, wondering if you should be there,
Right.
uh, having people that have kind of given you that perspective and made you realize what's at stake, it makes it like this much easier.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
And, you talk about connecting folks. So it's such a small Coast Guard. I had an OT reach out to me to shadow. And I was like, well, I'm at headquarters, maybe not the best place. Let me connect you with someone I know that's at the sector. And what was crazy is I connected them, and it ended up being someone that was on his interview
Oh,
panel.
wow.
And that's why I tell folks, like, I did it. Like, my interview panel, they said I can reach out. All right, say less. I'm going to take you up on that. So if they give you that, take it, because you can go shadow, you can go just really get more exposure to make at least deciding your career path a little easier when you get there.
Right. And they can kind of give you that perspective. Because I know I went through C-SPY, and so before I did have a little bit of an idea of what the different communities were. I was pretty set on going afloat, but I know for those who don't really know the different paths, it can be helpful to
Yeah.
talk to somebody, an officer who can kind of explain that to them so they have a better idea before they show up.
Yeah. Okay, so I got another good question I had was, we have parents that come there. Um, they wanted to know about staying connected with home. So as far as like phone privileges, is it like boot camp still where it's restricted, or how does that work with them staying in touch with family?
I can't really reveal. It's basically based off of the student's performance when those privileges are turned back on.
Okay.
But obviously, you do have your email. You have access to email. If you want, you can even write to your family or have them write to you. You get the address as soon as you show up, so you can share that with your family. I know that's a little bit more of an old-fashioned way, I
Yeah.
guess, similar to camp where you're writing letters. But it might be something nice if you have children, write them a little note or something. But there are ways to communicate once the program starts.
That is a good answer. We're not trying to get you fired today. So
No, no.
okay. So check this out. I got to ask you this. So somebody reached out this morning. They saw before I posted the pictures, they were like, who are you doing this interview with? I heard you're going to do like an interview. And I told them the name, and they said, oh my God, that is the person that yelled at me the most in the last class. Kindal,
Really?
what is up with that? Are you just lighting folks up right out the gate?
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I actually want to know who that is. But hey, it's just part of the experience. We just want to make sure that students are, meeting the standard. We want to see people succeed. We want to see people do well. And so we try to, put a little bit of stress and see how people perform, because as you know, like in the fleet, in the real world, there's going to be plenty of stressful moments, and you're going to have to be able to perform and work with people that you don't necessarily agree with, or so we try to create that environment, I guess.
I was like, no, not Kendall. I was like, no, she's so sweet. He's like, lit me up. She lit me
Oh,
up.
oh my gosh.
So look, speaking of that, look, I would never want to make someone experience it harder or throw anyone on the bus, but I happen to know a few folks that are coming your way. So, if you see Kylie Casson, tell her I said
I
hi.
will. I
If you
will.
if you see Phyllis, just maybe give a little extra attention, courtesy of their boy,
Oh, for sure.
Marcus
I'll
Boyd.
definitely say something.
That's dope. Let me see what else I got for you. What I got for you. I think really that covers a lot of what I wanted to. I don't want to take too much of your time. I guess I would ask, is there any final advice? So I was told, like Kylie, like I said, she shared that this video was going to happen. And so a lot of those folks heading there soon, they're nervous, they're excited. They're very grateful for the opportunity. Do you have any like final words of advice for them as they prepare to head there this
Yeah.
weekend?
Yeah, I think I already shared this with you, but I would just say come in with an open mind and willing to learn. There's a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds and experience levels. So I think just having that open mind and being able to, maybe give somebody an opportunity to have a leadership experience who might not have as much as you, but maybe not try to overstep, and obviously help them out and, say, hey, maybe I would do it this way, but don't necessarily overpower them where they can't get that experience because you're kind of taking that away from them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe in more of the leadership positions, but we want people to, we don't want people hiding in their rooms. We want them to come out and, use this time to get that experience where it's a controlled environment. Because I know when before I showed up, before I went through OCS, I was just so anxious about what it was going to be like, because I had heard a little bit from people that had gone through before, and I think I was just so worried, like, oh, I don't know why I had this fear that I was going to get injured and get sent home for some reason, and of course that didn't happen. But I think just trying not to think of the worst case scenario, because it's going to be fine. You're going to get through it, but just coming in with an open mind and willing to learn. Maybe humble yourself a little bit, especially those who might have a lot of experience, who've been in the Coast Guard more than 10, 15 years. So you bring a lot to the table that we want you to share with the other students, especially people coming in as new accessions who don't have any military experience. So we want you to share that with them. We want you to help each other. So yeah, I would say just come with an open mind.
No, I love that. I love that. I love that. And the injury thing, that's a real concern. I mean, I was 32, 33 when I went. I remember I brought like fish oil. I was like at nighttime, I was like stretching in my bed. I was so scared that like I was just going to get injured.
Yeah.
And then just, it wouldn't be in my hands anymore. So I think
Yeah.
you're not on your own with that one.
Yeah. And I know that obviously things happen and people do get injured, and unfortunately they might have to get sent home, but I feel like that's just a case by case kind of situation. Yeah. And if that happens, of course, that's, not ideal, but you always have an opportunity to come back. So, I would say don't stress about that as much as I did for some reason, because nothing happened. And I think there were a couple people that were sent home in the beginning of our class for injuries. I think someone got injured on their way to OCS, like at the airport.
In our class. Yeah, in our class.
So it's like, I guess if something's going to happen, it's going to happen. But I think for the most part, everyone was fine. And, if something does happen, like, we'll just see, how it goes. I know there's an opportunity for physical therapy and different stuff while you're here. You have access to medical. So, yeah, just don't stress about that.
Okay. And I lied. I actually did have one more question, only because it took me by surprise. We talked about it a little bit, but what's up? You guys encouraged them to bring a laptop. Can you share like why they need a laptop? Like when would they be using it?
I was going to check to see if that was listed under the required items in the pre-reporting guide, but I know a lot of students brought it because there were people that were having issues getting an access to their common access card, especially the new sessions were having issues with that. We are trying to streamline that so that people get access earlier, but there are so many people coming in that it does kind of overwhelm the IT support. So we're trying to prevent that. So I know people had their personal laptops and then had a CAC reader. They could access things, but we're trying to make that a little bit better because I know it causes people anxiety when they can't get access to the computer. They start having things due. So we're trying to make that better this class.
Okay, yeah, I think the individual hit me up. It said strongly encourage or something like that in the guide, and I was just like, I don't know why you would need a laptop, but that makes sense because the internet, the stuff was so bad for the newest sessions when we were there. I thought it was part of the program. I thought it was so bad. I thought they were doing that on purpose because like then I would have to share my computer with him because he could never get in and we got something due. So I was like, oh, I get it. They're trying to do the time management thing, but obviously that's not the case. But you you think the worst while you're there.
Definitely not planned or like intentional. It's just an issue with the getting newest sessions that access. It just is a process. So we're trying to make it quicker. Definitely not intentional. And another thing I mentioned to you too was that OCS is not a game, and we're not trying to trick you because I think that's a big misconception. And I don't want people to feel that way when they're showing up. So we're not doing things to intentionally trick you or, like you said, trying to get you guys to work together because this person doesn't have computer access. That's not something that we do. So that's definitely something I don't want people coming in with that kind of mindset.
Okay, I think I'm glad you expanded upon that. I know I even put it in my video, but it's good to like hear your thoughts, and I'm sure it'll be good for them to hear. So when they're crying at night, they'll be like, they're not trying to trick us. No. So no, I definitely appreciate it. Hopefully we can do this again. I'm sure that I'll get more questions. So we'll do it again, but thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, so big thanks to Lieutenant Lawson for sharing that incredible insight in the OCS. If you have questions about preparing your application or getting ready for OCS, drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer or get you the information you need. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I got much more content just like this coming your way very soon. Take care. I'll see you on the next one.